this is not going to be an easy one. It's gonna be heavy, but it does have a happy ending. All right, let's do this. I want to answer a question that I've been asked a lot lately. I've been asked for a few years. People don't understand when I say I have such a personal connection with Agile. How do I say that? I believe that Agile changed my life more than it has changed anybody else's life in the history of Agile. Growing up, I had a very complicated relationship with my father. I love my father. He passed away in 2011, and there isn't a time that goes by that I don't miss him, even today. I love my father, and I know he loved me, and we had our moments. We recognized that we missed out on a lot when I got older, and we just didn't have the time to make up for those lost times. My father was very sick towards the last years he was alive. I moved to California in 2010. And before I moved, I asked him, I want you to come move in with me. And he said no. He said, you have your life ahead of you. You need to live your life. You need to stop worrying about it. Growing up, I was conditioned not to rely on my father for a lot of things. Every kid should be able to look at their father for comfort, role model, protection, empowerment. I didn't get any of that from my dad. I got fear, resentment, more fear, quite a few beatings, and the ability to know what to do in a situation when it gets too hostile, how to adapt to a situation that I didn't put myself into. But I don't hold any of that against my dad. I forgave my dad a long time ago. When I said, come move in with me, and he said, no, go live your life, that was around the time that we both recognized that we missed out a lot on each other's lives, and it's time to make up for some of it. I know my dad loved me, and he tried his best. But what I've come to learn a lot later, you won't be able to love or help someone unless you love yourself first and have the ability to help yourself first. You need to have two solid feet underneath you before you save or help someone else. In 2011, my father was in Queens, New York, in a hospital. He was admitted for multiple reasons. And the nurses couldn't understand him. So they called me when I was in California. And they said, can you please tell him to just let us do what we can to save him? And I spoke to him, and he was very upset and tired and said, I didn't want them to call you because I didn't want them to bother you. To which I replied, you're not bothering me. Let them help you. Just let them help you and let me help you. I want to be there for you. Not long after that, my father was in a coma. He was in and out of coma quite a lot in the last few months he was alive. that was the last time I heard my dad's voice. A few months later, I got a call where they said, "This is the end game. He's gonna go into hospice now." I made an effort to go out and see him. This was not the man I've known my whole life. This was not the big, strong guy that I knew my whole life. I remember talking to him while his eyes were closed and all the machines are beeping around him. And I said, "I'm sorry time got away from us. I'm sorry I couldn't save you in time. I'm sorry I couldn't do the things that I want to do now with you earlier. I'm sorry I didn't fight harder for you to come live with me, stay with me." I don't know. He was out of it. And then when I said, "Do you forgive me, Dad?" At that moment, he just opened his eyes, looked at me, put his head down like that, and then closed his eyes again. And I honestly don't know if that was him recognizing what I was saying or if it was a moment of coincidence. I don't know. I'd like to believe that he heard me. I just thought he might make it because despite what every doctor and every nurse and every medical professional said to us, that he's gonna not last for the next 2 to 3 weeks or the next month, he just kept beating the odds. But he wasn't getting better. He just kept surviving. And I just thought that he was going to make it. On early December morning, I got a call when I was in California. I'm about to buy a ticket to go see my dad. I don't know how much time I have left with him. Not much later after I finished that comment, did my phone ring and they answer it, and it's the hospital from Queens. And they said, "I'm sorry to tell you, your dad just passed." And I don't know if it was the look on my face. I don't know, the fact that I just stopped moving in the middle of a driveway. I just sat there frozen. I went back home. I packed my bags. I flew out to New York. I contacted my brothers. I contacted my mom. We arranged for the funeral. We did everything that we're supposed to do. I just didn't have time to mourn my father. That's what I felt like. I didn't have time to go through the mourning process. There's a grieving period that you go through when you sit by yourself, when someone important or close to you dies, especially a parent. And I didn't get that. A few weeks later, I was reading an article. That was part of my grief, actually. I was reading stuff on how to deal with the loss of somebody. It was the first time in my life that I was reading stuff on how to better myself. It was around that time when my father passed away that I realized I don't want to be like that. I don't want to just survive. I want to be ready. I want to be better and happier. I started going to therapy. I started reading stuff to help myself. And one article in particular I read was from an Esquire magazine by a guy who wrote about his father who passed away. I wish I can remember the year, the name, the article. I don't remember any of that. But I remember something really powerful from it were two things. You may have heard me say before that growing up, Superman was my idol, Christopher Reeves. It was something that Marlon Brando's character said to Christopher Reeves, the father becomes the son, and the son becomes a father. But he also said something in there that just resonates with me till today, where he said, men become men when they lose their fathers or when they become fathers. Now, I wasn't a father at the time, but I definitely lost my dad. And I felt like that comment needed to be slightly adjusted. I feel like men become men when they lose their father and they become fathers. So it was around that time that I felt, okay, this is my awakening. I need to change things in my life. It was around that time that I actually started discovering Agile. And what really spoke to me were the values, the principles, the fact that it's a mindset of improving your outlook and how you perceive things. And well, it may have started off as me trying to get better at a job, get better at work so I can get a higher paycheck or a better role or something like that. Up until that moment, I was just jumping from job to job. I was not happy in any job that I was at. Some better than others. I was miserable because once things got hard, I either became infuriated or upset or shut down or blamed everybody else for why things don't work. So yeah, Agile helped me with my career around that time. It made me understand things a little bit better. A few weeks after that, reading that article, my Google Voice, out of all things, went through an upgrade while I was driving home stuck in traffic. And I remember it just binged as if I had a phone call. And I said, what is that? So I checked the voicemail, and it was a voicemail from my dad from before he checked into the hospital, before he was admitted to the hospital, where he just said, hey, it's me. I wanted to check in on you, but I wanted to talk to you. And I couldn't help think at that time that when he called or when the hospital called at that time and they said, your dad is not letting us help him. And I talked to him and he said, I didn't want them to call you to bother you. And I wonder if that voicemail was prior to that call, or he said that at the hospital because he left me a message and I never responded. And I remember coming home that day and I just went into the bathroom. And that was the first time I grieved the passing of my father in probably over 6 or 8 months, something like that. Oh, I went through a lot after that, but I started getting better at what I do. I started getting better at understanding what I do. I started getting better at accepting that I don't have the answer. And these are things that I've learned from Agile, that I don't have the answer to everything, but I know I have the best intention to. So therefore, I'm going to do my best to find the answer. And it's around that time that I felt things were getting better for me work wise. Personally speaking, I was in a very bad relationship and things were just up and down almost every single day. And I'm not going to get into the details of that. In 2015, my daughter was born. She was a preemie. She was in the NICU for 10 days. She was in an incubator for a couple of days. And something happened in me that day, almost the same that when I read the article and when I heard my dad's voicemail, but it was much greater. Something flipped inside of me like a switch. I said, "That's it. N- There's there's no more messing around. This is it." And that's when I feel like the statement or the comment that I read in the article, men become men when they lose their father, when they become fathers. Now I feel like it's a full circle moment for me, and I'm ready, or I'm done making excuses for failures in my life, and I'm ready to accept the challenge and accept the responsibility of becoming a father and accept everything that comes with not surviving. It was my daughter's my daughter's being born was such a blessing. I'm sure every parent feels that way about their kid. At least I know. So I love my daughter so much. And um, the first couple of hours she was alive, I was the only one to hold her. And it was such a special moment for me. I feel like I've done with my daughter things that my father has never done with me. I held her. I cut the umbilical cord. I did the skin to skin, which I didn't think that was something that men would do with their kids, but I did it with her. I sang to her. It was "You'll Be in My Arms" from Tarzan. I don't know why that song just popped in my head at that time. It's not even a favorite movie or favorite song of mine. I'm not even a big Phil Collins fan. I love Phil Collins, but I'm not the biggest Phil Collins fan, nor was I the biggest Tarzan fan. But there was something about that song when I was holding it. I said, "I'll keep you in my arms. Between these hands, I'll keep you safe and warm." Uh, about a couple of years later, I was going through a very ugly divorce. And the biggest fear for me was not to lose my daughter. And this one time, I was just sitting home alone and I was thinking about things and I was going through my grief of my marriage falling apart and my life falling apart. But it wasn't falling apart. My job. My job wasn't falling apart. My role in my company wasn't falling apart. Yeah, I've had some problems with some bosses, and it somehow triggered in me around that time that I'm not bad at my job. I'm just not getting along with some of the people I work with. And unfortunately, some of those people are leaders or directors or bosses. So I decided to make a change. And it's around that time that I decided to have more faith in myself. The reason I love Agile so much is because when I first started as a Scrum Master, somebody saw something in me and said, "I believe you can do this." That person believed in me more than my own father did. And when I started following the methodology and the principles and the values and the mindset of Agile, and then I started following Scrum processes, framework, and I started seeing the fruits of my labor, not just me, but the people that I work with and the people that I implemented with and the people that I taught. They started seeing the change around. I started believing in it more. And a thought hit me. Agile did for me what my father couldn't give me. It made me believe in myself. It made me rely on myself. It made me rely on my intuitions, my knowledge, my good intentions to be solution driven. So yeah, Agile had a huge impact on me in the sense that I discovered myself. I discovered what I can really do. In that same time, someone that I work with who was about to get fired, I was told this person's about to get fired because they're not pulling their weight, they're not doing a good job. And I said, "Can I please work with him? Can you let me work with him and let me see what I can do?" Because it worked for me. And I implemented. And I kid you not, within 3 months, that man was employee of the month. And it was one of the most rewarding thing for me to see someone turn their job around so much. And when he accepted the award and got up there and he looked at me and he said, "If it wasn't for you, I'd be on the street." It just touched me. And I love that feeling so much. And I want to continue doing that for others. So when I was going through my divorce, and I was going through a really rough divorce. I was in a bad place emotionally on a personal level, but on a professional level, I was doing great. I was getting promotions. I was getting recognized for my work and my efforts. And the turning point for me was that one of the things I learned about Agile is that you work the problem, don't finger point, don't panic. There's a solution. Work the problem. Just think clearly. Think about the problem. Think about the facts. Don't get the emotion get in the way of you being logical. And I remember coming out to my car one day for lunch after my lawyer called me, gave me some news that just made me feel like crap. And I don't want to go home that day because I know I'm going to get into an argument with uh, my ex who was still living at home at the time and didn't want to leave. But I wanted to go home so badly to see my daughter. And I started having a panic attack in the middle of the parking lot. And I just closed my eyes. And I don't know, there's something in the back of my mind that says, work the problem, work the problem, work the problem. What's the solution? Fact, facts, focus on facts. Don't focus on emotion. And I just went for some short walk, took a deep breath. And long story short, I just had a flat tire. But when you're going through a lot, sometimes you just don't know what you're going through. And I had a spare tire and I changed it. As a matter of fact, I called AAA at the time and everything was fine. So I never got that from my dad. I never got that from anybody that was a role model for me or anything like that. And at least in my earlier days or my early life. So I took that event and I said, I need to be more strategic about how I handle my personal life and how to handle everything with divorce. And I said, I will get everything that I ask for. I'm not asking for too much. I am going to get what I want. And all I wanted was my daughter. That's all I wanted. I didn't care about money because I didn't have any, and I still don't. I wanted my reputation and my daughter to be safe. During those years where I was going through divorce, two people said to me, and two very close people to me said, I don't know how you haven't committed suicide yet. All I can think of was, what? Suicide? What? What? Who's going to take care of my child? That burden falls on me. I have to be in a good place. I have to be strong. I have to be a better person than I am. So my daughter can be safe and can grow up to be a better version of me or a better version of herself. And it was just not an acceptable statement for me. And yeah, there were some setbacks once in a while, but god damn it, it worked because here I am almost 8 years later, and I got full custody of my daughter. Our bond is stronger than any bond in this world. I love her. She's my power source. My daughter and I have a very strong bond. The way my daughter looks at me, it's not a way that I ever looked at my own dad. The way my daughter confides in me, it's not a way that I ever confided in my dad. The way she embraces me every time she has to go somewhere and we have to be apart from each other, it is something I never felt towards my dad, except towards the end of his life. So when I say Agile changed my life, and I have such a deep personal connection to Agile, I wasn't joking. I'm not just making words. I'm not just saying things so I can get people to listen to me or buy my product or anything. The reality of it is that those set of values and principles is something that spoke to me on a personal level. And I said, I can apply this to my own personal life and it can make my life better. And it has made my life a lot better. Not only do I have full custody of my daughter, I met someone a few years ago who also a power source of mine, my wife. I love her and she sees and recognizes the passion that I have and she appreciates it. And I can't imagine my life without her or my stepdaughter. Cannot imagine a day without my wife, my daughter, or my stepdaughter. And I say this with full confidence and don't care if people think it's stupid or not. I really owe all that to around the time that I discovered Agile. I was going through some of these changes and these troubles in my life, and it helped me find myself, helped me believe in myself, and it empowered me to be better. I am a lot better than I was 10 years ago. I'm a lot better than I was even 15 years ago. And I'm not done. I'm Haas, and this has been Dead Sprint Radio. Hey, before I go, I just wanted to say this has been a tough episode. I've been wanting to actually record this for some time, and I know we discussed some heavy stuff here. I just wanted everybody to know that if you ever feel like you're stuck or you're coming to the road, just know that you're not alone. And if you're in the United States, please text or call 988 to get help. And if you're outside the United States, please go find local resources to try to get help. You're not done. You shouldn't be done. You have options. And I encourage you and challenge you to go find something and turn things around. You got this. You're not alone.